You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming in at 195 pounds from Studio A, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the Ring of Thunder, Sexy Thor!
What's up, thunderverse? Well, if you could believe it, this was actually a normal week for me, and I actually got to watch wrestling in a timely fashion, and pardon me if there's some weird noises with that one, because the mic just started moving to the left a bit, and so, yeah, nothing real sort of to really report on. Nothing super special, just a regular old week where we build to some pay-per-views and entertain ourselves with everything but Raw. Just kidding. I actually did watch Raw because, I guess I learned my lesson last time. Silly me. But also nothing besides just building up to, well, quite the episode that's going to be happening tonight, because now Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton are going to be facing each other for the WWE Championship, and Big E just sort of tweeted out that he's going to cash in tonight, so I'm kind of curious about that one. But also, namely, first and foremost, I'd like to give a special shout out to the Santa Claus from DragonCon Wrestling, Wade Adams. He followed me on Instagram and Twitter, I think it was Tuesday morning, and then maybe it was Monday, because I did put out, did I put out the episode Sunday? No, I didn't. I put it out on Monday. What am I even saying? But yeah, he followed me on the Instagrams and the Twitters, like you should, and then he DM'd me thanking me for the kind words about the DragonCon Wrestling show. So shout out to you, Wade. Thank you for listening. And this is for you, of course, if you're still listening. And yeah, definitely hope to have him on the show at some point, because right now he is the Outbreak champion of Viral Pro Wrestling, which is a promotion I think that runs down in Georgia. But he's also got connections, and I don't want to future book for him, but he might show up at a Pro Wrestling Turbo show sometime. I don't know. I don't have any inside deets. I don't have the sort of insider info like that. I am not the Dave Meltzer of Pro Wrestling Turbo, even though that would be pretty dope. But hey, speaking of them, real quick, it's now been officially announced there's no show name or card title thing up yet, but it is official that the next Pro Wrestling Turbo show will be taking place on Friday, October 29th, obviously 2021, over at Brewery 85. The news was sort of broken by the champion Joshua Cutshaw over at when he was talking to the crowd after the show at Overdrive last month, and then later on he just sort of reconfirmed it when he was talking to myself and Lightning Lad. But yeah, now it's official for all the internets to see. I don't think there's a show or a name of the show yet, but when there's matches announced and everything, we'll let you know right here on Ring of Thunder. And then sort of pivoting back to DragonCon Wrestling a little bit, I did some further research and investigating because I wanted to know who these interesting people were, because they don't really tell you on internet or on paper who is on the card. or what their names are, what their stories are. But I looked up that the wrestler Trixie that was up there that appeared to be a big fan favorite. And of course I said, she kind of looked like sort of had that maniacal clown flavor, and I specifically specified that it wasn't like, oh my goodness, this freaking mic stand. Oh, hold on. This is so unprofessional. I want to speak to your boss. Well, that's me. But, yeah, going back to Trixie. Yeah, she's not like a maniacal clown, all Harley Quinn like I specified. It wasn't like that because that was just a stupid easy comparison to use, but instead she's more like, she's like the maniacal clown version of Jigsaw from the Saw movies, because her official title is the Twisted Game Master Trixie, and she has a shitload of promos that she's filmed herself, total DIY, on her Instagram, and yeah, those are really fucking good. So let me see if I can bring out this handle so you can follow her and take a look-see, because these are just some awesome promos. Yeah, it's Twisted_Trixie1, like the number one, letter one, number one. Yeah, the digit 1, Twisted_Trixie1. So yeah, she is the Twisted Game Master. She likes blood a lot. And yeah, you should definitely watch it if you're into the spooky parts of wrestling. Then yeah, she is definitely someone to keep an eye on. And she has definitely earned your follow. So on to WWE stuff. First off, whoever decides what matches get cut for time needs to get smacked. And if it's Vince, sorry, sir, but shame on you, because there was a women's match that was cut from SmackDown, and this took place in Madison Square Garden on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks. And this is why it's so, like, definitely not WWE's finest moment, to say the least, because one of the wrestlers, Zelina Vega, real name Thea Trinidad, she's from Queens, and her father actually lost his life on 9/11. So this was like sort of her full circle, dream come true. She's wrestling in Madison Square Garden, something that, and it would just like bring a great sense of pride to her and her family and her father, who I'm absolutely certain would have been so proud to see her wrestling in Madison Square Garden for the WWE. And that fucking match got cut for time. God. WWE. Come on. Like, I know you WWE a lot, but this wasn't it. No. So, I mean, what else can you say about it? But that was just a terrible move to cut that match. But Edge versus Rollins 2 was pretty awesome. And, in Edge versus Rollins 1, Edge used the Glam Slam on Seth, which is, of course, the move made famous by Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix. This time around, Seth used the Glam Slam on Edge twice. And just as Seth responded with a pedigree, which it's weird that he did that and not the Disarmer or the Bexploder, or now the real most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the Manhandle Slam, as we can see. Sorry, Bianca Belair. like, he used the pedigree, which is his mentor and his boss's move. So it's just like, wait, one guy uses his wife, who is a wrestler, her special move. So one would think with logic, the other guy, who is also married to someone who is also a very big wrestler, in fact, one of the biggest names in the company, probably pretty much on par to Roman Reigns, and yet he uses Triple H's finisher. Huh? I mean, don't get me wrong, that didn't take from the match. That was just me, because I personally would have fucking killed to see Seth hit Edge with a disarmer or a Bexploder or a manhandle slam. But I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, this time Seth won, and he hit Edge with that stomp on his surgically repaired neck, and Edge had to be put in a neck brace, kayfabe, hopefully kayfabe, and put it out on a stretcher and taken to a local medical facility. So, and Seth was just standing there stunned, like he couldn't believe it. So, I don't know, either Seth starts to realize some things and starts going back to babyface Seth, or that takes him to another level of bad guy Seth. Because after SummerSlam, both Seth and Edge were like, after a match, I realized some things, and I'm going to take that as I go to the Universal Championship. And so we got Edge versus Rollins 2. Seth won. Edge carted off. Seth's looking a little weird. Who knows where that's going? Except there'll probably be Edge versus Rollins 3. The turtle. Not the turtle. Wow, did I just really say turtle? What is it called? The tiebreaker one. Oh, I usually remember what the name of it is. I'm sure you, good audience member, are just screaming at the thing, just being like, no, it's called this, it's called this. And like the tie-breaking match. Wait, what is it called? I'm Googling it right now, and I'm just trying to narrate what it is, and that doesn't say anything. Like, God, it's usually in my head. I don't know. I'll figure it out. God, why? Yeah, either which way, it'll probably happen at like Survivor Series, or probably like early next year, like maybe the Rumble, or, and hear me out, the day one pay-per-view that WWE is having on New Year's Day in State Farm Arena in Atlanta. Yes, please. Thank you. I don't know. But speaking of the Universal Championship, we got the Bloodline out there, and then Brock Lesnar came out, and Paul's just like, Brock, what are you doing? And then Brock, crafty Brock, he was just like, why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam? And then it was just like, oh. So Roman and the Usos started to leave Paul Heyman there, and I was just like, no, not like this. This isn't how Paul turns. And then, golly, sure enough, Paul Heyman started into his whole thing of, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and for 20 years I have been the advocate for the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Brock Lesnar. And Roman just sort of turned back like, oh, this is how it's going to be, motherfucker. Okay. And then Brock wasn't buying any of that at all, so he picked up Paul Heyman over his shoulders and was going to F5 him. And then Roman went in to rescue his special counsel, like hit the man with a Superman punch, and the Usos came in to help, and Brock hit him with the with all sorts of suplexes, and yeah, apparently Paul is now back with the bloodline after sort of turning on them, even though the bloodline kind of turned their back on them first, but we don't know if Paul actually betrayed Roman or not. I don't know. It's real sus up in this business. And then at the end of the show, Roman went to give his answer to Brock Lesnar's challenge, and he was basically like, yeah, I'll smash him and stack him and pin him just like I did. I'll smash him, stack him, and pin him after I'm done dealing with Finn Balor. And then the lights went out, and then boom, 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 down, 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 down. I'm sorry, Finn Balor has an amazing theme. But yeah, the Demon came out. That was after Roman beat him the previous week, and then the lights briefly went red, and he heard a heartbeat, which is the beginning of the Demon's theme. And yeah, the Demon had a face-to-face with Roman. Ooh. And I knew instantly, just like I think we all did, that unfortunately the Demon's probably going to get ruined by Roman. I mean, if there was somebody to beat the Demon on the main roster, I mean, I guess I'd be fine with it being Roman, just like if the Fiend's first loss came to Roman a year and a half ago, I would have been cool with it. But I tried to get those thoughts out of my head, and I was just like, look, okay. We're gonna just enjoy seeing the Demon again, and then we're just gonna go through that pain of the Demon getting his first loss on the main roster at the hands of the top guy. Jeez. And then move on to the inevitable Roman versus Brock at fucking Saudi Arabia. Hey, maybe it's going to be a steel cage match, and Roman wins because Brock spears him through the cage, but Roman's shoulders hit the floor first, even though Brock rolled off onto the floor, and then Roman still keeps his belt. BT Dubs, that's what happened at the Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018 when it was Roman versus Brock for the Universal Championship. So yeah, steel cage. Roman screws over Brock, and then we never talk about it again. And Sami Zayn is a wily one. And there was a 10-man tag team match, and since we were Madison Square Garden, he decided he wanted to piss off everybody. And I was just like, oh my God, because he's been bringing out Logan Paul. I'm just like, please don't bring out Logan Paul again. Just don't. And sure enough, he didn't bring out Logan Paul. Instead, he brought out Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. I was like, boy, yes, sir. And yeah, Trae Young came out. He was in the corner of the heels, which I was just like, that's fine with me. I'll root for these heels. And this man is so savage, he even attacked Rey Mysterio and didn't even care that the ref spotted him and threw him out. So, I mean, that's just savage ice tray for you. And then, yeah, I think the good guys ended up winning anyway, but the important part is those fans in Madison Square Garden fucking hated Trae Young after what he did to them in the playoffs this past season. But I was more than happy to see him because he is my favorite current NBA player on my favorite East team, the Atlanta Hawks. But you already knew that. So with that said, we're going to go with some commercials and then talk about some AEW and NXT stuff.
Tired of the same old movie podcasts?
Yeah.
What if I told you there's a podcast that gabs about good and bad movies?
Why are you spreading such lies?
It's true, you rascal. Every week, Double Edge Double Bill mixes that scrumptious taste of good movies with the sour flavor of a bad one.
That sounds tasty.
Well, don't delay. Stuff it down your ear throats today. Double Edge Double Bill is part of the Balance ESO Network breakfast. Can be found wherever you download podcasts.
How did watchdog groups with no experience in television take a controlling interest on Saturday morning television?
When did Wonder Woman make her animated debut?
Want to know why there were two competing Ghostbuster shows?
How Atari changed the Saturday morning landscape?
How did networks compete over similar genres at the same time?
Find out all of this and more on the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast.
A proud member of the ESO Network.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcons' physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals.
It's Amanda Bones.
And I'm Ashley.
Of How to Talk to Your Friend About Wrestling, the podcast on the Count Out Wrestling Podcast Network, a weekly show where we talk about all of our favorite things, babes, blood, and brutality.
We also talk about other fun things, like is Kenny Omega finally too tan? And how much blood is too much blood? Because that looks like way too much blood.
So join us on the adventure of teaching me, Amanda Bones, about wrestling.
Do you like podcasts?
Then you're gonna hate Thunder Talk.
Tasteless subject matter.
Mature humor.
Contempt for our co-hosts.
Unapologetic social views.
Edgy music.
And total irreverence for the nerd junk we love.
Are all reasons why
No one
should listen to Thunder Talk.
Find us on the ESO Network.
and all podcasting platforms.
Or don't.
Whatever.
Rubber match. That's what it was. That's what they call the third match in a series that is supposed to be the tiebreaker. A rubber match. I knew it'd eventually come to me. Anyways, oh, by the way, apparently, looking up on the old Instagrams, apparently Bobby Fish is going to be making his MLW debut on October 2nd. I still haven't watched any MLW whatsoever. I've been meaning to, but you know, there's all this other wrestling. Go figure. But hey, yeah, good for him. And also, apparently on Ring of Honor's, was it Death Before Dishonor that happened yesterday? Apparently Jake Atlas and Taylor Rust, which he looks a little different, but he looks like, but I believe that's Tyler Rust, the guy who was part of Diamond Mine and being represented by Malcolm Bivens. But yeah, apparently now they're both in Ring of Honor, so good for him. And they crowned the new women's champion in there, Roxy, who's like a 19-year-old prodigy, so congratulations to her. And on Dynamite, the super elite now came out and was being interviewed by Tony Schiavone because they have a new old member that came back from the dead. That one being the Adam Cole baby. And of course he was talking about coming to AEW and all that. And then he was just like, look, Schiavone, I know, you know, you're supposedly good friends with Britt Baker, but if you look at her even the wrong way, even one time, I'm going to beat your ass, or something to that effect. And then he was just like, get out of the ring, nerd. Yeah, nerd, get out of the ring, nerd. And that was just the funniest thing. But that was cool that they addressed that, though, because I was wondering how Adam Cole would like act if he would even like acknowledge it at all about Tony Schiavone sort of being part of Britt Baker's friend group circle. But speaking of friend group circles, the Dark Order has pretty much broken up now. And even Anna Jay is just like, whatever, you dudes just need some time apart. I'm going to go do me. So she reunited with her best friend, Ty Conti. So Ty J is back. And now I know for sure that it's pronounced Ty J and not Tay J, because they actually said Ty J in a promo now. And they had a match on AEW Dark Elevation tonight against somebody. And yeah, of course they won. Yeah, so that should be a fun little episode of Elevation, because Sky Blue is now back and wrestling Nyla Rose, so she's not all elite just yet, which she should be. And yeah, with her going up against Nyla Rose, oof, that might be a little rough to watch. Nyla Rose is not called the Native Beast for nothing. And part of jumping over to Rampage, Ruby Soho teamed up in a 6-woman tag with Riho and Chris Statlander against Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. And watching it, I was just like, you know, it's kind of funny because the whole gang of Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel is kind of like the Riot Squad we deserved, I would think, because, you know, for the longest time during the Riot Squad's original run, like, Ruby was always sort of crowned as the one that was going to be the future women's champion. I mean, they kind of put over Liv and Sarah as well, but they're, you know, Ruby was the clear-cut leader, and she was definitely a future women's champion and everything. And, you know, booked a little bit better. You know, they could have had something instead of being Ronda Rousey's punching bags for a half a year and then breaking up and then reuniting with just Ruby and Liv, and then either not being on TV or just jobbing out to the heel tag team that they're trying to push more. It's like, no, the whole little Britt Baker and her gang is kind of the Riot Squad we had hoped for and deserved. And of course they got beaten by Ruby Soho herself. So, but that was a good fun tag match to watch. And on NXT, this is quite unfortunate because Samoa Joe has sustained an injury as announced on social media, and he will relinquish the NXT Championship. Damn. So it's going to be really interesting because tomorrow night on Tuesday the 14th is supposedly the little relaunch of NXT with new logo, new colors, all that stuff. Probably black and gold brand no more, which just bums me out hardcore. But, you know, NXT was already sort of going super downhill post Undisputed Era, honestly. I mean, the way kept me pretty interested, but for the most part, it's just like, Even though Mei Ying, the little Shang Tsung Samara from the Ring combination, or the Grudge Ghost that also has Shang Tsung powers, like, was actually in action, and she took someone out. It is just, you know, enhancement, talent, performance center, body, you know, and pretty much took their soul right then and there. Not really, but I mean, maybe it was kind of implied, or maybe it's just my imagination. But yeah, so Mei Ying's killing it. Samoa Joe was killing it, but unfortunately injured again after finally coming back to the ring after over a year and a half out of action. But it is what it is. So we were going to have a number one contenders fatal four-way between Tommaso Ciampa, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight. But who knows, that might just turn into a fatal four-way for the championship. So pretty much at this point, we're going to see a new champion crowned here soon. And so Kyle O'Reilly or LA Knight could be winning their first NXT Championship. Pete Dunne could be winning his first NXT Championship because he was already the WWE United Kingdom Champion, which is now the NXT UK Championship. Or Tommaso Ciampa could finally win Goldie back. And, you know, maybe it's too soon for LA Knight. But, I mean, if you put the title on any of them, wouldn't be so bad for me. I mean, me coming into all this in 2018, 2019, it would be kind of nice for me to see the belt put back on Tommaso again. And, you know, for him to have a proper run that ends on the terms that he's planned for. But we'll see. And, of course, there's finally the Index wedding, the only wrestling wedding that I haven't just groaned at. Even though, honestly, I kind of enjoyed the Kip Sabian Penelope Ford wedding just because of best friends crashing it. And Chris Statlander didn't come back then. But the whole thing with Chuck no longer being the butler and James Mitchell becoming the priest. Like, I actually kind of like that wrestling wedding. WWE's weddings, though, Bobby Lashley, Lana, no, thank you. But they also did have good sort of vignettes showing the Bachelor and Bachelorette party, including that referee from Dexter Loomis's House of Horrors match. I forget what it was called exactly. It's not House of Horrors. That was the Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton thing. Yeah. That guy was back, and he was as a zombie, so it was all sorts of just good, silly, stupid fun, as wrestling should be. And, of course, tomorrow is also Raquel Gonzalez versus Frankie Monet for the NXT Women's Championship. So that'll definitely be powerhouse versus powerhouse right there for real. And that's the 1, 2, 3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. Kick butts, not nuts.
Welcome to Dr. Geek's Laboratory.
Dr. Geek here with another reminder that the ESO Network is pro-science and pro-vaccine. We urge you to be a superhero and protect yourself, your family, and your fellow geeks around the world. Don't be fooled by the forces of evil and their anti-science misinformation campaign. Consult the latest CDC guidelines, your doctor, and get the COVID vaccine today.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.